It's Wednesday night after a long day, and the last thing you want to do is cook dinner from scratch. But you still want a satisfying, tasty meal without the guilt? Enter your freezer's sidekick, Cauliflower. From thin and crispy cauliflower crust pizzas to all-natural white meat chicken tenders and more, Cauliflower is gluten-free always, satisfies every craving, and is ready in minutes. Cauliflower is available in freezer aisles nationwide. Visit eatcauliflower.com/where-to-buy to find a store near you.
Hey, true crime fans. Do you enjoy listening to a lot of different true crime podcasts, but don't always have time to catch all of your favorite shows and hosts? The brand new podcast, Beyond Bizarre True Crime, is a weekly podcast with a different guest host from the world of true crime podcasts in every episode, covering a case that they feel is, well, beyond bizarre. And every episode is guaranteed to be less than 30 minutes long, so you can get your true crime fill and then get on with your day. Some of the guest hosts you'll hear from include Nick and the Captain from True Crime Garage, Erica from Southern Fried True Crime, Robin from The Trail Went Cold, Emily from Morbidology, and so many more. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss an episode. You're listening to Missing Persons, brought to you by AbJack Entertainment. Be sure to check out some of the other great true crime podcasts from this network, including The Murder in My Family, DNA ID, Beyond Bizarre True Crime, Zodiac Speaking, Scene of the Crime, 3 Men and a Mystery, and All Things Crime. All of these podcasts are available for you to binge on right now, wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe where you're listening to this podcast so you don't miss an episode.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on this podcast do not necessarily represent those of the podcast, its creators, or sponsors. If you would like to discuss a missing persons case on this podcast, please be sure to visit missingpersonspodcast.net. This episode may contain unsettling or disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Missing Persons, a podcast dedicated to spreading the word about people who have vanished under mysterious or unexplained circumstances, and the family members who are looking for answers. I'm Jess Betancourt.
And I'm Mike Morford. Together we created this podcast to help give a voice to people who continue to search for their missing loved ones, in some cases even after decades have gone by. In each episode, you'll hear from Jess giving listeners the backstory and the basic facts of the disappearance.
Then Mike will speak with someone who's intimately connected to the missing person, and his guest will share their story with us.
Please stay tuned at the conclusion of this episode to hear about our Patreon program and our commitment to help find people who have gone missing. We'll also share with you where you can find more information and how you can join our team and help our efforts. You'll get recommendations for other podcasts we think you'll enjoy, and more.
So sit back and enjoy this episode, and who knows, maybe you can help us find someone who's missing.
Episode 40, James Davis Walker. James Davis Walker was born in Virginia in December 1946. As an adult, James was exceptionally tall. He was 6'7", but he only weighed 140 pounds. Everyone in the Bedford, Virginia area where he lived much of his life knew him by his nickname, Slim. In 2000, James was single but had several children from his marriage. He was kind of a nomad, not really living at one fixed address. He would stay with his kids or friends, go hunting and camping. In April 2000, 52-year-old James was working odd jobs as a handyman and laborer. He had been living for the past 10 months at the home of his friend of over a decade, Don Adams, and Don's wife, Juanita. Don and James would take on day jobs together, and according to James's family, things seemed fine. However, there is some indication that James did occasionally have some lucidity issues, where he would have had a brain fog similar to the symptoms of Alzheimer's. He had no formal diagnosis and physically was very fit. He was a jovial man liked by everyone and was not known to have any enemies or drama in his life. He had 6 children. James's son Bobby Walker is our guest today. The two used to work together at a Virginia sawmill and were close. As I said, James was living with his friends, the Adamses. On Friday, April 7th, 2000, according to the story the Adamses later told to the police and the media, James drove with Don and Juanita from their home on Cool Springs Road on Taylor Mountain, which is in Thaxton. Taylor Mountain is a locals-only area in the Blue Ridge mountain chain, punctured by fiercely guarded private properties owned by longtime country families. According to Fox News, some Bedford residents refer to Taylor Mountain dismissively as the redneck capital of the county. It has a history of bootleg liquor and rough-and-tumble descendants who still populate the area. Anyway, the Adamses said that they and James traveled by car from their home on the mountain and drove 7 miles to the Food Lion at the Peaks View Shopping Center in Bedford. Don and Juanita went into the store, they said, and James sat on a bench outside the store smoking while the couple went in and shopped. When they came out, after maybe 15 minutes, James was gone. Apparently, the Adamses reported James missing to the Bedford police within the hour. They said they came out of the store, they looked around for James, but they couldn't find him. The police arrived and took Don and Juanita's statement about what happened. They started to form the theory that James had wandered off, perhaps going off with a friend, and started searching for him. James's son Bobby Walker, who is our guest today, recalls that he got a phone call from his sister, nicknamed Tiny, telling him that Dad is missing. Bobby said that to him, it was odd that the Adamses had sounded the alarm about James so quickly. He was sort of nomadic and was known to go stay with friends and would always resurface after a day or two. He could have run into a fishing buddy or someone who offered him a job. Why call in a missing persons report within an hour? This next part all per Dateline. Bobby, who was around 25 years old at the time of his father's disappearance, was in Lynchburg for a job when he got the call from his family. Their father was missing. I remember it like it was yesterday, Bobby said. Missing, huh? It didn't really make sense. And I didn't think it was a big deal at first, like maybe he had just gone off with his friends. James's daughter, Tiny Walker, then 23, was working at Bedford Hospital when she got the call from one of her brothers. She had the same reaction as her brother, Bobby. He said, "Our dad was missing and I just thought that was strange," Tiny told Dateline. "My dad was a really laid-back, friendly guy. We all thought he'd gone off with friends. Missing was just something that didn't cross our minds." Police believed the Adams' story and suspected that James wandered off. Early articles indicated that police did not suspect foul play in James's disappearance. Again, from Dateline. Bedford City Police Chief Todd Foreman, who has been police chief for 5 years and on the force for 24 years, was a patrol officer at the time. "I remember searching for him that day. All over the woods back there behind the Food Lion, no trace," Chief Foreman told Dateline. "I never met Slim, but I knew of him. Everyone there knew him. He was a real well-liked guy." But ground and helicopter searches found nothing, and James did not turn up. After several days, someone suggested to Bobby that he take a look and see if the Food Lion had any surveillance footage that could show where James could have gone. Bobby spoke to the store manager, and they viewed the footage taken on the day James was reported missing. The camera's vantage point was from inside the store, but it did show the parking lot outside as well. Here's what it showed. On Friday, April 7th, the Adamses' car drove into the Food Lion lot and parked. 3 people got out of the car and walked into the store. They were Don Adams and 2 friends, a man and a woman. The 3 occupants of the car spent about 10 minutes in the store and then left. At no time was James ever visible on the video. He was not on the bench outside the store. Remember, the Adamses had said he sat on the bench outside the store smoking. And he did not appear to be in the vehicle either. Bobby found this to be very suspicious. The Adamses had said that Don, Juanita, and James came to the store, but the video proved that that was not the truth. He brought the surveillance video to the attention of police, who viewed it and then re-questioned the Adamses. And their story changed. Don Adams told police that he and his 2 friends and James had been in the car that day. Juanita wasn't with them. The story morphed to James stayed beside the car smoking, and then they said he stayed in the car. But Juanita had appeared on an initial Channel 10 news report video telling the story about the day James vanished and saying she and Don had taken him to the store. Now they were saying she wasn't there after all. It didn't add up, and Bobby and the police weren't getting the truth. It made them wonder whether James was ever at the store at all or whether he had never left the mountain that day. So police had reason to suspect that the Adamses knew more than they were saying. And then a tip from a prison inmate indicated that James was dead and buried on the Adamses' property on Cool Springs Road. Investigators obtained a search warrant to look for, quote, any trace of James Davis Walker in January 2001, and conducted a search of the home and property, including using luminol to look for traces of blood. They found nothing. James was nowhere to be found, and the case stalled. Fast forward to 2015. A 2015 article on WSLS.com says, quote, investigators say they are close to solving the 15-year-old case of a missing Bedford man. Town of Bedford Police Chief Todd Foreman said his team is investigating the disappearance as if it just happened. A 6-inch binder is filled with details dating back to the start of the investigation. Officers are re-interviewing people, following up on leads, and taking another look at the timeline. Foreman said investigators also have fresh eyes on the case, with a new investigator, state police, and the Bedford County Sheriff's Office being involved. Police said a dig was being conducted close to where Walker lived before he disappeared. And then a December 2015 WSLS.com article made it clear that James's disappearance is now being investigated as a homicide. Quote, the Bedford Police Department, Bedford County Sheriff's Office, and state police are looking at this case from the very beginning. In addition to investigating this case as a disappearance, investigators said there was probable cause of murder. We're trying to determine what happened, so we're working all angles, says Chief Todd Foreman, Bedford Police Chief. Until we have all the facts, we don't want to narrow it down to one thing. Investigators aren't giving a lot of details, but did say they're using different strategies, and their investigation has led them to other places in the county. Police had reportedly been informed by 2 people that Adams had killed James and buried him on his property. More searching was conducted in January of 2016, including of a trailer that James lived in, but James has never been found. What James's family cannot understand is why anyone would have harmed him. Everyone liked Slim, and no one can think of a motive for someone to kill him. His daughter Tiny told Dateline she used to talk to her father every day. He didn't have money, he was a simple guy, she said, and everyone loved him. Why hurt him? That's what we don't understand. But clearly, police believe that someone did harm James, and the changing and deceptive stories told by some of the parties in this case imply that James did not just leave of his own accord. His family is still looking for answers. James Walker was last seen wearing jeans, a black t-shirt, a green baseball hat, and work boots. Mike Morford sat down with Bobby Walker, James's son, to talk about his father's case. That conversation is coming up after a word from our sponsors.
It's Wednesday night after a long day, and the last thing you want to do is cook dinner from scratch. But you still want a satisfying, tasty meal without the guilt? Enter your freezer's sidekick, Cauliflower. From thin and crispy cauliflower crust pizzas to all-natural white meat chicken tenders and crowd-pleasing snacks, Cauliflower satisfies every craving. Cauliflower's products are your favorite comfort foods, but made better for you and gluten-free always. The best part? You don't have to sacrifice taste or time, so you can honor your cravings without compromising. Craving pizza? You can enjoy Cauliflower's delicious margarita pizza for only 370 calories for half the pizza. Looking for easy snacks that kids and adults alike will love? Cauliflower's baked, never-fried pizza snacks are nostalgia reimagined and ready in 5 minutes. Cauliflower's products are available in freezer aisles nationwide. Visit eatcauliflower.com/where-to-buy to find a store near you.
Let's be honest. Most of us have a love-hate relationship with wired bras. We love the lift, but hate the digging. We love the support, but hate feeling trapped. Well, Knix just changed everything with FreeFlex, a wired bra actually designed to work with your body, not against it. FreeFlex features a revolutionary flexible wire that moves when you move, bends when you bend, and keeps everything exactly where you want it. No poking, no stabbing, no constant readjusting, just freedom to move. It also has a demi-cup shape for a natural lift with a lower neckline that flatters in everything from V-necks to dresses. And because it's from Knix, it's available in sizes for every body. Experience the first wired bra you'll actually want to wear all day. Visit Knix.com for 15% off your order with FreeFlex15. That's KNIX.com, code FreeFlex15 for 15% off. Knix.com.
Hi, Bobby, and thank you for coming on Missing Persons to discuss your dad's case with us.
Thank you, sir.
We're happy to help and spread the word about your dad's case and see if we can shed a little bit more light on it. Your dad's been missing, is it over 20 years now?
Yes, sir. It'd be 21 years.
Yeah, it's got to be a tough time for you wondering all that time what happened to your dad.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's been a long time, but it just seems like plus on top of it, just seems like it was like yesterday, the way it seems sometimes.
Sure. I guess before we dive into some of the details about the case and when he went missing, can you tell us a little bit about your dad and some of the things that you remember about him?
Oh, yeah. I remember, when we was kids and all growing up, Dad, of course, he was, a great provider of his family and everything like that, but Dad was a funny man. Kind of stood out in the crowd because Dad was well over 6 foot tall. Of course, he loved to go hunting and fishing, and of course, get back, sit, drink a beer with him and stuff like that. When we was, of course, when we get into manhood and all and everything like that. But I remember Dad basically showing us the ropes of life.
So he was always there for you as you were growing up. It sounds like. Yes.
Dad was pretty much you can pretty much find Dad anytime.
Yeah, and you mentioned he was over 6 foot. I read a couple reports that he was 6'7" and 140 pounds, and he went by Slim. Everybody called him Slim.
Exactly. You pretty much you see him over top of everybody.
Yeah, and that's what makes him being missing strange. Is he's someone that would stand out and people would remember him. So the fact that he went missing is just a little bit stranger because of that.
Oh, exactly. I mean, how does a 6'7" man just disappear?
Yeah. At the time your dad went missing, what was going on in his life? Where was he living and where was he working at?
Dad hadn't been working for years. I think he was trying to get his Social Security together so he could start getting paid for that. But he would stay between Donnie Adams and my brothers up on the mountain. They were probably within, I'd say, about 3/4 of a mile of each other.
Okay. So he basically bounced between living with Don and Juanita Adams and your brother. Okay. And you mentioned that he hadn't been working well. He had, by a couple of reports, he had some kind of illness that was sort of like Alzheimer's. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it wasn't confirmed or anything like that. Dad had been, getting kind of scary health issues, but nothing like, it was more in a mind matter than it was as far as anything else, because of course, when you get older, you start feeling things that just hadn't been there before. I guess you just should say it. I guess just part of life.
Was he mobile? Was he able to get around pretty well and go back and forth to places?
Dad would get out there and chop wood and get around and everything like that. It's just he was healthy as an ox as far as from what I could see.
How did he decide to move in with Don and Juanita Adams? He lived there for a while, I guess 10 months when he vanished. Was he pretty friendly with them, or?
Yeah, they'd been friends for years. I'd say probably 10 years, maybe more than that.
Okay. And they just basically let him come in and stay with them because they were so friendly, or?
Yep.
Okay.
Pretty much, they would work together, doing odd jobs and stuff like that.
And that was a good relationship, and living there was nothing rocky going on?
No, not that I know of. I know there's some kind of speculations that some stuff was going on from time, but that's I don't know. You can't confirm it. That's another problem.
And we'll definitely talk about some of that. I think the mystery of really what happened to your dad starts on April 7th, 2000, and this is where your dad supposedly, when he was staying with Don and Juanita on Taylor Mountain, they went up to a food line supposedly at a place called the Peaksview Shopping Center in Bedford.
That's correct.
Okay, and from there, that's when the story gets a little bit murky because, according to Don and Juanita, they went in to do some shopping and your dad stayed outside. What happened during that time, and is that story accurate?
The story is just, there's so many lies in the beginning, you don't know what to believe because, of course, that's what the initial report was. It was Donnie and Juanita and Dad at the store. All right. Me and I was going to Central Virginia Community College getting for plumbing, to get my certificate in plumbing. And my teacher there was Peter Alexander. He asked me, he said, well, I heard about your dad missing. He said, he asked me if he said, can we go down and, we'll hold off class. And he said, I'd like to go down to Bedford with you and, do a little bit of checking in the woods and everything like that, to see if we find anything. I said, well, that's fine. So we rode down there. It was, of course, Dad went missing on that Friday. We went down Monday to look around, and we found we didn't find nothing as far as looking in the woods. So we went back into the food line. We spoke to the manager back then, and they asked if he had videotape, and he said, of course. He said, we're welcome to go in here and look. And we started looking at the videotape from Friday, and that's when we found out that it was a lie in the beginning. Because, of course, in the video, we could not see Dad in the video. But there was three people in the car. They all three went in the store. It was Donnie Adams, Rose Dooley, and Bruce Carter. They were the three that went into the store. And they were in there for probably, I'm thinking about 10 to 15 minutes from what I can remember from the video. And they walked outside and got in the vehicle and left. Okay, and that was the time that Dad was supposed to have been there. So when we found out about the video, of course, I called the police department and reported that initial story was wrong. It was a lie. They come down and got a copy of the video. Of course, I guess they confronted them, and then the stories changed. It said it was. So the story went from being just three people in the car. It was supposed to be 4 people in the car. It was supposed to have been Donnie Adams, Rose Dooley, Bruce Carter, and Dad. Now, but as far as from the video, then it went from Dad was sitting on a park bench to from Dad standing beside the car, and then Dad never got out of the car. That's what the other three lies come up. I'm like, if they would have been truthful and honest in the beginning of who all was there and everything, that's the problem I'm having as far as them being, just plain out lying.
Sure. And if it wasn't for that video, you wouldn't know that the story they told originally wasn't true. That's
correct.
Yeah. And so the video, just to touch on that real quick, did it show the outside and the exterior of the building or just the inside?
It was from the inside. It was facing towards front windows, and you could see the car coming into the frame. There was a glare from the sun because it was early in the morning, because the store faces east. So, of course, the sun was coming in from where they parked at was probably, I would say, 60 foot out in the parking lot.
If your dad was out there someplace, he would have been seen, it sounds like, because of, again, he's tall and thin.
From
and
the video.
He would definitely show up on that video, it seems like.
Yeah, because you could see 3 people walking up through the parking lot and going into the store, and that was the 3 that was, Donnie, Rose, and Bruce.
And you mentioned, too, that so they sort of gave one story to the authorities, but when you confronted with this video, their story changed suddenly.
Exactly, and it changed totally. It pretty much more twice after that, more or less, because it went from, the original story said Dad sat on the park bench, and then when the stories changed, they said he stood beside the car, and then then it changed one more time that he stayed in the car. Because you couldn't, because once they said that, they confronted him because you couldn't see nobody coming through the parking lot. That's when they said Dad stayed in the car.
Yeah. That's troubling when people start changing their stories like that.
Yeah. Well, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember a lie.
Yeah. You just tell the truth, and that is what it is.
Yes.
Let's back up a second, if we can. When did you realize that your dad was missing? Who reported him missing, and how quickly did that happen?
Yeah, that's another thing. See, if Dad, they reported Dad missing within, I say, an hour or something like that. After he was from the store. But now, Dad, he was pretty well known for getting with friends, and Dad would stay gone for a day or two, and that was fine. That you didn't have to worry about where Dad was or anything like that. You always knew Dad was okay. Nobody would worry about it. But the thing about it is that they call him so quick right after that. Now that rose a question in itself. I mean, if somebody hadn't been missing for an hour, why would you file a missing report?
Yeah, that's pretty quickly. I mean, I hear stories when people take too long to go to the police, but that seems actually pretty fast to go there when he could have, like you said, gone off with a friend or walked off someplace, and that seems like a quick amount of time to report.
Oh, exactly. Because Dad could have just hopped in the vehicle, saying he could have hopped in another vehicle with somebody else and rode on up on the mountain, or went over to my brother's house or my sister's house. But within an hour, nah, that's just not right.
Yeah. And what was their story of that day? They basically said they came there with your dad in the car before the camera footage told something different. And then what was their story? That they came out and he was gone?
Yep. They said to come back out of the store and Dad was gone.
So then that story pretty much falls apart once the video comes out, and that now they're scrambling to change their story.
That's correct. And the problem on top of that is, see, I didn't look on it back in hindsight 2020 with the police department. Why did they just accept it and for filing a report like that, and then she told them to remind them. But you see, there were never prosecutor or anything like that for even coming up with falsifying a story in the beginning. And a lot of that stuff just don't make sense either.
And how did you and your brother and stuff, how did you guys find out? Did the police come to your house and say your dad's missing, or did you get a call?
No, actually, my sister had called me while I was at work and said that, they reported Dad missing. First thing that popped in my head, I'm like, what? I said, well, how long has he been gone? Well, they say, they said, he's been gone for just a couple hours. I'm like, why are you reporting Dad missing out of a couple hours? For me, it didn't make sense at all. If Dad was gone for over a week, yeah, I would worry about it. But if Dad was gone for a couple hours, he was probably, first thing that was in my head, he was with one of his buddies, and they'd gone fishing or went to do some work or something, But a couple hours, no. That's what just didn't make sense to me. It's like, why would they report him missing like that?
Yeah, it's strange because I hear a lot of cases where someone takes too long to report someone missing, and here it's supposedly an hour.
Yeah,
and they're already reporting them missing. So that's odd. So I assume that police talked to them, questioned them, and what was the result of that? What did they have to say?
They come back and just said, that pretty much that they believed their story. But, there was a little bit of a conflict of interest back then, too. So, because they, and I'll be straightforward about it, and I could give a rat's ass who wants to, confront me about it, is officer back then, Tracy Purnell, he was friends with him, and he was a head investigator on the case.
And you think since he was friendly with them, he sort of brushed it off and didn't really take it as serious?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you feel at the time, did you feel that that was an issue, or is it looking back on it that you thought about that?
Well, at the time, it was a little bit of an issue because I can remember one time that, Tracy had called from the police department, and it was on a private line. And, of course, back then we had caller IDs. And I called back on that line, and he was pretty much a dick on the phone. I'll be straightforward about it. And the chief of police in Bedford knows exactly how I feel about it. Todd Foreman, he knows exactly how I feel about Tracy. The district attorney knows how I feel about it. And pretty much the sheriff and the state knows how I feel about it.
So you've got this situation where the police are believing what they said, and now there's just your dad's missing with no explanation. So if the police believed what they had to say, what was their thinking? What did the police tell you early on, their thoughts about what happened to your dad? Did they have an opinion or a theory about what happened to your dad?
Well, back in, Tracy was pretty much said, well, he just walked off somewhere or something like that, or and that's the way that's the way it was my understanding, the way he talked about it and everything like that, but it kind of changed later in that year because I think it had a little bit of pressure on him because somebody had come forward and said that they had murdered Dad and put him in the pond up there near the house, near the trailer. And that's when the first dig went back in 2001 that they dug for Dad up on their property.
Did they find anything there?
They did not find anything at time.
You had mentioned that you had done like some searching early on by yourself and with friends and stuff like that. You didn't find anything early on. Did they search with dogs or any kind of organized search for your dad early on?
They did. They did around Food Line. They did. Got a couple of people together. We did, and some of the local. I think it was from the fire department that were down there to help to look around the Food Line down in that area for Dad, just in case, to see if he was over in the woods or something like that, but nothing ever become of it, as far as finding anything.
So there was never any kind of sign or clue, anything of your dad's found, anything like that?
No, sir.
It's Wednesday night after a long day, and the last thing you want to do is cook dinner from scratch. But you still want a satisfying, tasty meal without the guilt? Enter your freezer's sidekick, Cauliflower. From thin and crispy cauliflower crust pizzas to all-natural white meat chicken tenders and crowd-pleasing snacks, Cauliflower satisfies every craving. Cauliflower's products are your favorite comfort foods, but made better for you and gluten-free always. The best part? You don't have to sacrifice taste or time, so you can honor your cravings without compromising. Craving pizza? You can enjoy Cauliflower's delicious margarita pizza for only 370 calories for half the pizza. Looking for easy snacks that kids and adults alike will love? Cauliflower's baked, never fried pizza snacks are nostalgia reimagined and ready in 5 minutes. Cauliflower's products are available in freezer aisles nationwide. Visit eatcauliflower.com/where-to-buy to find a store near you.
Let's be honest. Most of us have a love-hate relationship with wired bras. We love the lift, but hate the digging. We love the support, but hate feeling trapped. Well, Knix just changed everything with FreeFlex, a wired bra actually designed to work with your body, not against it. FreeFlex features a revolutionary flexible wire that moves when you move, bends when you bend, and keeps everything exactly where you want it. No poking, no stabbing, no constant readjusting, just freedom to move. It also has a demi-cup shape for a natural lift with a lower neckline that flatters in everything from V-necks to dresses. And because it's from Knix, it's available in sizes for every body. Experience the first wired bra you'll actually want to wear all day. Visit Knix.com for 15% off your order with FreeFlex15. That's KNIX.com, code FREEFLEX15 for 15% off. Knix.com.
I just wanted to go back 1 second to the group of people that originally, came up with this story. You mentioned it was Don and Rose and Bruce.
That's correct.
And Juanita, if I'm not mistaken, had mentioned she had gone there too, but that wasn't true. She wasn't there at all.
No, and they actually have video footage of her saying that she was there. I think it was Channel 7 back in the day that had that they said that Dad was, that she was down there with them when Dad disappeared. And it's just, the whole works is just, as far as how the initial story and how the stories kept changing just to suit everything that was coming, being found more or less as far as what, after the video was found.
Yeah. It just seems like a real messy situation. You've got, a few people there that aren't telling the truth. And then one person that supposedly was there that wasn't there. It sounds like it's just the foundation of your dad going missing is built around lies for some reason. Exactly. Now, did any of those people have any problems with your dad? Any issues with him? Anything that, they would have a reason to harm him and cover it up, that kind of thing?
That's what I don't know. I mean, because they were friends and they were all together because Rose was staying up there at Donnie and Juanita's house too. And of course, Bruce, I think he lived in town. I think it was on the west side of town of Bedford, and I don't know, as far as Bruce or anything like that, I don't think he had any problems with him or anything like that. See, that's the whole mind-boggling thing is why more than anything.
It's not like your dad was on bad terms with these people. These were people that he was friendly with and wouldn't have a reason to harm him. Yet it seems like there was some indication that they weren't being truthful for some reason.
Exactly. Now that's the thing. If they had been truthful in the beginning, I wouldn't have a problem with it. As far as them, being suspects.
Yeah. You mentioned that that the one search was done early on the property, nothing was found. Were there any other searches or digs or anything like that over the years done?
Yes, sir. Back in 2000, don't hold me to it. I believe it was 2015 that they went up there on Donnie's and Juanita's property and did a dig, and that become and I'll be straightforward about it. I mean, I could care less if the DA be mad about it because I know exactly it's a truth fact that Rose and Juanita was coming forward to say that Donna killed Dad. And that was within the district attorney, but they were getting ready to go to court to go in front of the grand jury, and everything fell apart.
So this is, just to clarify that, there was some indication that these two women claimed that
Donnie killed Dad. Yep.
Okay. And was there any elaboration on that or any more details about how or why or?
I see. That's the reason why that they were doing a dig up there on the property back in 2015 for Dad's remains. But the area they searched on the property, there was nothing found. And they went inside the house and did, of course, the what do you call the blood with the light and all that stuff to see if they seen blood in the house or anything like that. Or the trailer, I should say. But nothing become of it.
And you mentioned early on that it seemed like the leading investigator was friendly with these people, so sort of dismissed them as them telling the truth and just didn't really dig into it enough.
Exactly.
But later, over the years, I know that investigators have changed their tune a little bit and said there was probable cause of murder. I mean, do you know any more
That's
about
correct.
those details and why they've sort of changed their tune now?
Because of the, of course, bring awareness of the case and everything like that, but there's been a little bit of pressure on them to get things done. Because of course, it's been an outstanding case, and that's pretty much one of the cases. But that's the only big case that's from Bedford. It's somebody's missing like that. But with them, putting a little bit of pressure on the police, and of course, the Commonwealth Attorney to get them to pretty much do their job to get this thing resolved and find something to Dad, so that the people are getting up in their age, and get some justice for Dad. Because my main goal more than anything is finding Dad. I'd like to find Dad and bring him home.
And what does that mean? Even if he's not alive, you want to find his remains?
Exactly. I'm truly in my heart, I know Dad's not alive. It's just I'd like to find him so I know where he's at.
Sure, have some kind of peace or some kind of answer, and maybe from there they can figure out who might have done it and more clues. Sir. We know that you mentioned it was kind of puzzling that the people that seemed to be not telling the truth didn't have any problems that of. They were friendly. Is there anyone that your dad did have any kind of beefs with or wasn't friendly with, someone that might have any kind of reason to harm him?
Nobody. That's another problem. Is just Dad. If somebody asked Dad to do something, he was right there with them. It's just I don't think Dad ever would say no to anybody.
Yeah, from all accounts, he was friendly and well liked. It seems.
Yeah.
When you have small towns like this, it seems like rumors and stuff would start to spread. Were there rumors in the case? And
there was rumors. Of course, that because in the beginning, they of course, first thing you think about what a reason why is because that they said that Dad was having sex with Donnie's wife, and that was Juanita, and and of course but that was never founded. If she said he did or something like that, it'd be a different story. But I mean, there's no positive proof or anything like that. It's just speculation. It's rumors, more or less.
Yeah, it's got to be hard to hear all that stuff floating around and know that there's nothing solid with any of that.
Yes. Yeah, it's pretty much like you're chasing a ghost.
Yeah.
I would always tell anybody. I would tell anybody on that.
And the people that are sort of at the center of this, the three people that were at the store on camera, and then of course Juanita, that said she was there but wasn't. It's a total of 4
That's
people.
correct.
It seems like. Are they all still alive?
Bruce has been deceased for quite a few years now. Rose, Juanita, and Donnie are still living. Donnie is not in good health. Juanita, her and Donnie's been separated for years, but I know she's not in good health from what I understand. But I think she's fair health, I should say. And Rose, I think she's in fair health too. Donnie's probably the worst one right now as far as health-wise.
Okay. Have any of them been cooperative lately, or are they still talking to police? Have police reached out to them recently to see if they have anything new to add?
They do constantly check in on them from time to time. I do hear that from the police department. They say that Donnie's pretty active. When he was pretty much more or less trying to help them all the time. And that's that kind of raises a red flag to me a little bit. Why would you be so generous to help if you're a suspect?
Yeah, maybe almost like he's trying to search to see what they know and what they're thinking.
Exactly. You're just trying. He's trying to keep his face in the door and find out what they know.
Sure.
And you keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I guess that's what most people say.
Have you or any of your family members ever flat out confronted them and asked them what happened, and what was their response if you did?
No, I have not. I'm kind of thankful because I'd probably be in jail. I ain't gonna lie to you, because I live probably about 30 miles from Bedford, where I've moved at. I moved up here back in Madison Heights, probably back in 98, 97. What my wife, but I know that they've gotten to. I think Mom got into them back when they was doing the first dig. That she got into an argument with them. But I know Donnie's son Ronald. He runs his mouth a lot. He does.
When you say runs his mouth, do you mean like egging your family on or hinting that he does something?
He just eggs it on, more or less. Just far as, he would say Dad was nasty and this, that, and the other and everything like that. And he's just saying that he was messing around with some guy or something. Doug, I know to pop into my head sometime or another.
Uh-huh.
But it's just he would sit there and say that Doug was the one that killed Dad, but I think that the cops, the police department checked into that, and that was pretty much blowed off pretty quick.
So it's basically spreading rumors and saying hurtful things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
So we mentioned it's been 20 years now, no sign of your dad. And the strange thing is even if something had happened to your dad, he walked off and tripped and fell down a hill and accidentally died or something like that, where is his body? It seems that would have turned up.
Exactly. Because, people hunt down there in Bedford all the time. So, there's a lot of hunters down there. And you figure somebody would run across remains or something like that in the woods somewhere, or, if Dad was laying out somewhere.
Yeah, and none of his possessions have ever been found either, it seems like.
That's correct.
Well, I know you took to websleuths.com. It's a popular online forum for people to discuss mysteries and try and discuss them, get answers, and share information.
That's
what
correct.
Kind of things have you talked about on there, and do you find the people there coming up with good ideas to try and help you in your situation?
I need to get back on there and see what's being said, because I hadn't been on there for probably about a year or so. Because I don't know if you've ever been. Have you been on Web Sleuth before?
Yeah, I go on there occasionally.
Have you ever seen a lady Tulsa Sloan on there? Tulsa Sloan.
There's so many.
She passed. I tell you what, she passed away last year, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you what, man, she was a great advocate. Of course, she was a great advocate for ending the missing, period. But she was die hard on Dad's case. But you see a lot of stuff on there, and some ideas that they come up with and everything. Web Sleuths is a great forum as far as getting on there and trying to get some good ideas and how to do anything.
Yeah, and I think in a case like this where you're sort of desperate for answers and trying to figure out how to search for things and find out the truth, having different people to sort of guide you and give you advice and maybe come up with different ideas.
Yeah, and doing it, and I guess we say trying to do it the correct way, as far as getting in there, trying to find out any kind of answers and stuff like that. That's what's great about that.
Yeah. And looking back now, after 20 years, you mentioned that one of the people that saw your dad last, or possibly saw your dad last, has already passed. One's not doing good.
Yes, sir.
Time's running out. Is there anything that you'd like to see done, or the police ask them directly? Anything at this point that you think can be done before it's too late, and before some of the people that might have answers aren't here to give them?
What I would love them to do is put us all in a room together. Plain and simple. Just get in there and let us all confront each other face to face. I would love that. Just sit there and, because you can read people, if they won't look you in the eye, body language and stuff like that. But of course, that will never happen because that's not a legal way of doing anything.
Sure.
But I wish that they would put a little bit more pressure on it to get stuff done on the case. Just plain out, just tell us where Dad is.
Yeah.
Because we just did I don't know. Well, we kept pretty quiet about it. We just did a dig on a property earlier this year. Looking for Dad's remains because the dog. We had some canines come up there that we had friends help us to acquire, and a anthropologist to come up there and try to find where we dug it, on the property we dug at for Dad. But nothing was found on the property. But, we kept pretty quiet about it, as far as kept it away from the news and all, because the first thing they did, just in case we did find Dad, because it seemed like we was in the right area, because we had 2 different canines hit in the same spots that they was detecting human remains.
Yeah. It's got to be frustrating to sort of have these false leads and dig places, and then nothing is there, and then you still have to go on without answers.
Exactly. And the people that come in and help, the canines were out of Florida, but and of course the people that come up and did this stuff, and the anthropologists and the person that come down and did the dig, it didn't cost a penny. They did it out of their heart, and I was very grateful for that, because you don't meet people that would just come out of hundreds or thousands of miles to come and help you.
Yeah, it's good to have people that are willing to help you when you've got an uphill battle like it seems you definitely have.
Yes.
Where does the case officially stand now with the police? What's their stance on it? What's the latest from them?
I haven't talked to the head investigator for probably a couple weeks now, but they are still out there questioning people, because I hear chatter. I get phone calls that people that they're going talking to people. But it's just one of those things, man. Right now, probably the only thing you can actually do is just go to trial without a body case, and
that makes it tough to win those.
Yes, it is tough, but that does happen. We had a friend of ours. This was a local case up here, probably about 30 miles north of us here from Lynchburg, that they did a trial without body case, and they won the case, and they found her remains last December.
Oh, so there's definitely hope that can be the outcome sometimes.
Yes.
I mean, one thing too is maybe the fact that so much time has gone by. Maybe someone out there knows something, is willing to talk, and will come forward after all this time and say, "Hey, I've been sitting on the secret for a long time, or I heard this, I heard that. And maybe that can make the difference. And even though it's been 20 years, maybe something like that will break the case for you.
Exactly. And that's the main thing is if somebody would just come forward I mean, if it's got to be not a direct contact to say, hey, this is where he is, he's on this property or anything like that, put us in the right area. And I'll make sure what needs to be done is done. Yeah,
even if it's like an anonymous letter or something, giving you the information, and at least you can maybe get the answers, not all the answers, but, just as you mentioned, having your dad's remains would help you a lot and give you some kind of peace. Well, we're going to do our part and definitely share this case and let people know that, if they have any information, that they should come forward and try and get people to talk more about this case. And hopefully you get some kind of answers and some kind of information.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Missing Persons. If you can provide any information to help solve the case we discussed in this episode, please contact the appropriate authorities.
If you enjoy this podcast, please take a moment to tell your friends about Missing Persons and invite them to listen to the show. Word of mouth will help us grow and bring these cases to a larger audience. You can also help us by taking a moment to rate and review Missing Persons on the platform you're listening to us now on.
We'd like to tell you a little bit about our Patreon program. If you visit patreon.com/missingpodcast, you can sign up to help this podcast through ongoing monthly support. As a thank you, we'll give you an on-air shout-out, a thank you card and sticker, plus you'll get early access to ad-free episodes of the show and any bonus content.
Your Patreon support also goes towards helping the missing, because every dollar that we earn through Patreon will be split with charlieproject.org, the wonderful website that's been sharing information about so many missing persons cases for years. We hope you'll consider supporting the show. Just a reminder that new episodes of Missing Persons air every other Saturday. If you want to find us on social media, you can search Facebook for Missing Persons Podcast. And we're also on Twitter with the handle @missing_pod. And of course, you can find us on our website, missingpersonspodcast.net. As we wrap up this episode, we'd like to play a preview of a true crime podcast we think you'll like. It's called Leave the Lights On. Be sure to give it a listen. On behalf of Jess Betancourt, this is Mike Morford saying thanks, and we'll see you next time on Missing Persons.
Leave the Lights On is a true crime podcast with a paranormal twist. Join creator Eliza and her co-host as they explore terrifying true stories and chilling crimes. Growing up, Eliza had an odd obsession with the darkest desires of humanity and an insatiable curiosity about the afterlife. Now, each week, Eliza brings you tales that will make you want to lock your doors, hide in your room, and of course, leave the lights on. Available on Spotify and Apple Podcast.
Missing Persons is produced under the name AbJack Entertainment by Mike Morford and Jessica Betancourt. It's hosted by Mike Morford and Jessica Betancourt, with writing and research by Jessica Betancourt and editing by Mike Morford. Be sure to listen every other Saturday for an all-new episode of Missing Persons.